STEM. Power STEM's an A-level course provider. We provide A-level courses in biology, chemistry, physics, and maths for those students that want to enroll in medical, dental, veterinary, financial, and engineering programs at the chosen university in the UK. Parents, I want to ask you a question, and it's this one. Have you asked your teen whether they're fine, whether they're doing okay? And they go, yeah, sure, mom, dad, I'm doing okay, I'm doing fine. But you know deep down that they're not. Maybe you've noticed there's a dip in the grades. They're starting to become demotivated studying A-level maths and science, or maybe they're becoming distracted. Well, what you're seeing, parents, is this. What you're seeing is signs of silent stress that your teen's undergoing. Now, in this video, in this live stream, I'll show you how you can recognize and understand the signs of silent stress, and also how you can help support your teen and help them overcome silent stress before they become overwhelmed with A-level maths, biology, physics, and chemistry. So let's break this down. Let's analyze first off, what are the, I didn't like that. Hey everybody, my name's Graham Matthews, and as you know, I run Empowered STEM. And Empowered STEM is an A-level course provider. We provide A-level courses in biology, chemistry, physics, and maths for those students that want to enroll in medical, dental, veterinary, financial, and engineering programs at the chosen university in the UK. So today, parents, I wanted to come in and talk to you about the signs of silent stress that your teen may be undergoing when they're taking their A-levels. So let me ask you this question. Have you ever asked your teen whether they're doing okay? How are they doing? And you get the usual answer, fine. But you know deep down, parents, that they're not fine, that there's something going on behind the scenes. And it may be something like a dip in the grades in the A-levels. And all of a sudden they're becoming demotivated. They don't want to study anymore. They don't want to revise, or they're becoming distracted. What you're seeing is that you're seeing signs of silent stress, which is very common amongst high achieving teens. At the end of this live stream, what I'll do is I'll show you the signs you need to look out for, which indicate that your son, your daughter is undergoing silent stress, and how you can help support them before they become overwhelmed with their academic studies. If we're talking about silent stress is one of the stresses that it seems to affect high achieving teens, those teens that would be taking A-level maths and science, for example. And what the high achieving teens do is that they suppress the stress, they internalize it. And the reason for this is because they don't want to disappoint you parents. They don't want to appear weak. They don't want to come to mom and dad and say, you know what, I really need some help. I really need some support here because I'm getting stressed out with the academic workload. And so what they do is that they internalize this pressure on the inside. And on the outside, they look calm. They look collected. They look like they've got it together. But on the inside, they're battling this internal struggle. Because silent stress, how I think of silent stress is it's like a slow leak in a bicycle tire. It's quiet. It occurs over time. But what happens is that it drains your teen's energy, their confidence, and the focus. The three things that they need to be successful in A-level maths and science courses. And how exactly does the silent stress show up? Well, it shows up in your teen's life because all of a sudden they start to procrastinate. Now I'll study tomorrow. You know what? I'll do this on the weekend. Or maybe they have mood changes. Now, I know parents, you're going to tell me, Graham, teenagers, hormones, mood changes, come on. But all of a sudden they get this mood change and become a little bit more quieter, a little bit more withdrawn. And they have this lack of motivation. They just don't seem to be motivated. The drive is gone. You know, in the previous live stream, we talked about being in the zone. Well, bottom line is, parents, is that your teen is no longer in the zone. They don't feel motivated. They're not focused. They have no energy. And they're procrastinating. They're pushing, studying, revising for A-level maths and science further and further away towards the end of the week, tomorrow, you know, that day which never actually comes. So, is there a science behind the concept of silent stress? Well, of course there is, parents, because you know at Empower STEM, we use neuroscience, we use academic coaching, we use educational theory in order to help your teen earn the A and the A star in A-level maths and science. And so on this one, there's been studies done on it, and it comes from the research done with neuroscience. And so what the neuroscientists tell us is this, is that when your teen is undergoing silent stress, the amygdala, which is in layman's terms, the alarm system of the brain, it becomes overactive under this constant pressure of silent stress. And so it starts to always be on this constant low level alert. I like to think of it as sleeping with one eye open. You're always on the watch, you're always alert, you're always watching everything around you. But when the amygdala becomes overactive, what it does is that it suppresses the activity in the prefrontal cortex. And when you suppress the activity in the prefrontal cortex, what you do is that you reduce dramatically the focus, the recall, and the problem-solving ability of the individual. So let's loop this back around, parents, and let's apply it to your teen, your son, your daughter. Your son, your daughter is undergoing silent stress. They're getting really stressed out with the academics. They don't want to say to mum and dad, I have an issue. I need some support. I can't handle this. They've internalized all this pressure. They're starting to procrastinate. You've seen the mood changes, the loss of motivation. What's happening in your teen's brain is that their amygdala is under, it's overactive. And because it's overactive, because it's under this constant pressure of silent stress all the time, you get this low level alertness. It's always looking around, seeing what's going on, which means it suppresses activity in the prefrontal cortex, which means that they lose focus. So they're not focusing on their studies in A-level maths and science. Having an issue recalling, you know, the AO1 questions, the easiest ones that you can answer in A-level maths and science. The problem solving becomes more difficult for them. The AO2, the problem solving ones, the AO3, the application questions, all of a sudden it becomes more difficult for your teen. It's like they're running through molasses. So this means then that capable students, such as your son, your daughter, they start making careless mistakes. They start struggling to remember things that they know. They've studied them, they understand it, they know this, they should be able to recall it, but all of a sudden they're struggling to remember what they're doing on something. And these careless mistakes, what happens is that, look, studies show, parents, that careless mistakes on an exam will lower your teen's letter grade on that test or exam by one whole letter grade because of silent stress in the background. Now, what happens then is silent stress, it can be easily misdiagnosed. And so parents think, oh, my son, my daughter, they're just lazy. Well, they obviously lack discipline. Yeah, I mean, all they've got to do, Graham, is just go into the room and just study more. They've got to revise more. They've got to pay attention in class. But because they're undergoing silent stress, it exhibits as something which parents assume is laziness or lack of discipline, but actually it's cognitive overload. Your teen's brain is starting to become overloaded by the amount of work that it has to do because you put on the extra workload of the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex not doing what they should be doing. So, parents, how exactly can you recognize the signs of silent stress? So you can tell the difference between silent stress and whether your teen is lazy or lacks discipline. Okay, let's look at this from a holistic point of view. Number one, emotional. You may notice that your teen becomes more irritable, the more frustrated, the more withdrawn, the more sensitive to things, both physically and emotionally. If you look at the behavioral side of it, they're avoiding revision, or they're overworking without making any progress, or they go down the route of perfectionism. Everything has to be perfect before they move on. Or the opposite, imagine a pendulum, is procrastination. They just start to put things off until the weekend. From the physical side, they're more easily fatigued. The sleep pattern is disrupted. They come down with headaches, a loss of appetite. Now, parents, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say to me, yes, but Graham, now, come on. I mean, it's a teenager. Of course, you're going to have emotional and behavioral and physical changes because, well, they're teenagers, they're full of hormones, they're figuring everything out. But this is something, if you take your teenager, the behavioral patterns of your teenager, the emotional patterns of your teenager as a baseline, and then you start to notice things that like moving up or moving down, they're going outside of the normal range for your teenager. This could be an example of silent stress. And so what we need to do is we need to change this around, because stress, if you're not careful, it can lead down the road to panic. So your teen is stressed because they haven't studied, they haven't revised, they haven't done what they should have been doing, which means that all of a sudden they know that they're not prepared for the upcoming test or exam. And so they go into a state of panic. But stress, you don't want to go down to the state of panic. You also don't want to go down to the opposite one, which is a state of apathy. They just give up. So imagine stress is in the middle. If we don't handle it, you can either go down to a state of panic on one side, which is your teen panics about everything, or the other version of it is that they just give up. They become apathetic. So what you're looking for, parents, is this, is that you're looking for changes in behavior which is outside of the norm for your teen. You're not looking for dramatic symptoms, because remember at the beginning of the live stream, I said silent stress is like a slow leak in a bicycle tire. It happens over time. Very slow leak. You may not notice on day one and day two, but maybe at the end of the week when you go ride the bike, you're thinking, oh, hold on, I have a flat tire. When did this happen? So how exactly can you help your teen? Well, you can help your teen by having a conversation with them about how is it going at school. Now, parents, what you need to have is you need to have an open and honest, non-judgmental conversation with your teen. Because if your teen isn't talking to you, you can assume that they're not listening. All right, so what you need is a calm, judgment-free space. You're not judging. You're not throwing accusations. You're not putting out ultimatums. It's a calm, judgment-free space that you've got. And what you need to do is ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are questions that you can't answer with a yes or a no. And so from the world of sales, if you ever talk to a salesperson, they'll always ask you an open-ended question, because otherwise you go down the path of a yes, no answer. And let's be honest, parents, we're talking about teenagers here, not exactly communicative in the first place. So you can ask questions such as, how's it going? You seem quieter today than normal. Is everything going all right? How is it going? You seem quieter than normal. You can't answer that question with a yes or a no. Or tell me, you're doing A-level chemistry. What felt hardest about A-level chemistry or biology this week at school? It's an open-ended question. You can't answer it with a yes or no. Or you may want to offer some support, and you may want to say something like, I have an idea. Let's work out a plan together to help you get through this stressful period of your life. And let's help get the study skills and the revision strategies back on track for you so you can move up to the A and the A star in this. That's going to help you, right? Again, do you notice how it's not a yes, no? Now, one thing you've got to do, parents, right? This is the golden rule of open-ended questions is this. Do not ask why questions. Because simple, why questions access beliefs. If you ask your teen, why are you not successful in A-level chemistry? They've got to answer it with a belief. Because I'm not smart enough to do it. Right? So if you ask a why question, you open up the realm of beliefs, which means that they then become defensive. And this is the last thing that you want your teen to do. Now, your goal, by the way, is not to fix the issue. I know you say, Graham, what do you mean your goal is not to fix the issue? No, in this conversation that you're having with your son, your daughter, parents, you don't want to fix it. What you want to do is show that you're on the same side of the table that they are, that you get it, that you see them, that you understand what they're going through. And then you can have a conversation with them. Because we talked about this in a previous live stream. What your teen wants is autonomy. They want to feel as if they're in control of their learning. They're in control of their life. They're in control of their destiny, what they're going to be doing. So the very last thing that they want is somebody to come and say, right, well, okay, I've got a plan for you here. It's exactly what you're going to do. No, because your teen is going to push back. They're going to rebel against you. But if, on the other hand, you show them that you're on the same side as they are, that you understand where they're coming from, you can see that they need some help, some support, well, that's different. Now, having an open-ended conversation with your teen is brilliant, but how exactly do we turn support into strategy? You start with open-ended communication, the questions that are open-ended questions. And you build empathy. This is the second bit, which is where you show them that you're on the same side as they are, that you see them, that you understand where they're coming from. This is the empathy bridge. You've then got to pair the empathy with structure. Because at the end of the day, you can listen, yes. You can have empathy, Yes, but you need to start walking the bridge to a plan, a structure on the end, the other side of the bridge, right? Now, listening is powerful. It's probably one of the best skills you can have with your teen. You listen to your teen, they explain what the issue is. You empathize with them. You really understand where they're coming from. You walk the empathy bridge with them. And then you pair it with a plan. This is the time when you come in and you pair it with a plan. And so you say to them, right, I understand where you're coming from. I've got it. I see you. Let's put a plan together to help turn this situation around, because empathy and a plan builds momentum. It builds unstoppable momentum. Now, parents, as you know, at Empowered STEM, we do run A-level courses, and we deal with the situation basically on a daily basis, because as you can guess, the students coming into our courses, they're just like your son, your daughter. They're stressed. Most of them are suffering from silent stress. And so we do have a plan that we put into place to help them. After we have an open-ended conversation with them, walk the empathy bridge, we put a plan together for them. And at Empowered STEM, our plan it's a 4-step plan. Number one, it's precision diagnosis. We quickly ascertain where your teen is, where they have gaps in their understanding and their foundational knowledge. We then move on to conceptual clarity, which is where we give them a solid foundation in A-level chemistry, biology, maths, or physics. And then we stack on top of that strategic revision, because most teens don't know how to revise in the way that they should be revising to get the A or the A star. So we do study skills, revision strategies, put it together. Now they can understand how to revise. They know how to read mark schemes, examine reports. And then the fourth bit is medical mindset, where we help them rewire their thinking, their beliefs, their behaviors, their values, their identity, their mission, their vision around A-level maths and science. So they understand why they're taking A-level maths and science, why they want to be a doctor, dentist, veterinarian, and what they want to do afterwards. Because what we notice is this, is stress. If you're not careful, stress can become structured. It can become a way of life for your teen. And it can become what they focus on. And as Tony Robbins says, where focus goes, energy flows. And so if your teen is focusing on being stressed, they're stuck in the stress cycle of the silent stress, then they're just going to spiral downwards to poor grades in A-level maths and science. So is there a story behind this one? Well, of course there is. Parents, you know, I always begin to wrap these live streams, and at the end I tell you a story. Now this one, because it's happened to so many students, I'm just going to use a real general example, because all the students that come in to our courses at Empowered STEM, yeah, they're disengaged, they're demotivated, they're not focused, they believe that they can't do it. I mean, they're just teenagers, just like your son, your daughter. But when they come in, the very first thing we do is we sit down, we have a conversation with them, and we understand where they are in the silent stress continuum. Because I would say 99% of them have silent stress in some which way, shape, or form. And when we identify what the silent stress is, and we talk them through it, we empathize, walk the empathy bridge, and then put together a plan for them. What we notice is something miraculous. And it's this, is that all of a sudden, the teen begins to turn things around. So all of a sudden, they move from the teen that was demotivated, disengaged, disenfranchised, just basically fed up, wondering why they're taking A-level maths and science, to somebody who's starting to walk the journey, the path to the A and the A star. All of a sudden, they start to see that they can do it. They can believe it. They can see it. The study skill changes, provision strategies change, and all of a sudden, the grades begin to move up. And this is one of the reasons why in our courses, the students move 2 or 3 letter grades. And so if they come in with a C, for example, they're moving up to an A at the end of year 12, or in year 13, they're just flying at the level of an A star. So parents, look, what I need you to do for this live stream is have a think about silent stress, because it may be something that you knew about, maybe something you didn't know about. Have a think about the baseline behavior of your teen, and are they exhibiting symptoms and behaviors of silent stress? Are they all of a sudden out of the norm for their behavior? And if they are, then apply the techniques and strategies I talked about in this live stream. Now, if what I'm talking about, parents, in these live streams, if it's something which you go, you know what? Every week, Graham is on the live stream, and he's always giving us the tips and the strategies that we need in order to help our teen earn the A and the A star in A-level maths and science. And I want to be part of the community. It's very simple to do. If you're on Facebook watching this one, below the description on Facebook, on the video, there is, you can join the business page, and then you will be notified of upcoming live streams and events. Or if you're on YouTube, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. And when you do that, not only will you be notified of upcoming live streams and events, but you'll also have access to all the other live streams that we do on a weekly basis to help you out. Now, it may also be, parents, that you're thinking, I want to learn more about the courses that Empowered STEM offers. Well, if this is the case, like I said, below the video on Facebook, there's a description of what I talked about. There's a link you can click on. It's the same link on the YouTube channel below the description. And you fill out the form, and a member of my team will reach out to you, and you'll have a non-committal, non-sales conversation with them. And it's very easy what we do on these calls. We find out where your teen is in terms of academics, what their predicted grade is, what university they want to go to, what they want to be on the outside, their academic journey. We then explain to you what our courses offer, what they do, results that we get. You have the opportunity to ask questions and get them answered, and make sure that at the end of the call, you feel well informed and well taken care of. And then you can make an informed decision on what to do next in order to help out your teen. Everybody take care, and I'll see you in the next one.